what happens in grand finals, they do blow out after it because the sides just give up.
Yeah.
But what it is, when you apply
So the
that
Bulldogs
pressure...
gave up.
But when you apply...
here first.
No, that didn't come out well.
Bryan Lake.
Yes.
Sounds like a holiday destination, doesn't it? I'm going up to Bryan Lake.
No, that's why I changed my name. That's why I changed it from Harris to Lake, because it sounds better.
It sounds pretty.
Sounds like a holiday.
Mate, I'm glad I got you because you've heard for a lot of years, forwards versus backs, attack versus defence, what wins championships? The old adage, defence wins championships. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Can you change my mind? I think attack. You've got to score.
Yeah.
Why does defence
That's
win championships?
That's the old cliche that all forwards say is, you've got to score more than the opposition.
Yes,
well,
but
we all obviously we all know that, but we talk, as you said before, every sport's the same. You've got to be able to defend first before you can attack. And for me, yes, as being a defender, yes, I'm going to be a little bit biased here, but they win premierships.
Really?
You look at the Hawthorn three-peat.
Yeah.
We had such a strong defence,
Yeah.
and we just strangled sides. And you come to finals. Finals, you're playing more one-on-one type of football. Man. The pressure is a lot harder. Anyone can kick a goal. But
Not anyone can kick a goal. That's why you played in the back line, because you couldn't kick a goal.
I started up forward, and you know
they realised.
They said, no, you know what? It's easy kicking goals, Brian, which I kicked a few. Go back and you stop them. So I did that.
But you were this size when you were 12. That's why you kicked all those goals.
I was a big baby, yeah. Sorry, Mum.
No, but here's the thing. That 8 minutes, maybe 5 minutes of the grand final last year, you watched it. Your old team, Western Bulldogs, over there in Perth.
Yeah.
There was, maybe it was even 3 minutes where Melbourne just went bang, 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 just kept going. The ball didn't even go into the back line. Pinged out of the middle, through the goals. If you kick goals and you're strong in the middle, who needs a defence?
No. We had Jake Lever and Stephen May stopping the opposition. Cut off the Bulldogs. And you look at Melbourne, you kick goals. Yeah, there was it. Fritsch kicked a couple. Well, Fritsch, come on, please. He's not a big, massive key forward, is he?
Well, no, he's not.
So, yes, you need to kick more. And what happens in grand finals, they do blow out after it because the sides just give up.
Yeah.
But what it is, when you apply
So the
that
Bulldogs
pressure...
gave up.
But when you apply...
here first.
No, that didn't come out well. But when you apply enough pressure, because of the defensive pressure of just tackling, the sides just crack.
So
you mean
a full ground defence?
The Melbourne's defence cracked the Bulldogs, and then the forwards get a lick of the ice cream late.
I can see where you're coming from there. It's like a full ground defence rather than just the back six, right? Where you were a backline man getting all those uncontested marks. I think you hold the record for the most uncontested marks in a game. How easy is life? Kick it back. Kick it back. Kick it back.
24. It was 24. What number did you wear?
24. There's synergies there.
But you look at it. Who's the last key forward that has won a Norm Smith medal?
I know where you're going with this one. I think I know.
I haven't got it on me, but 2013.
It's in the car.
Look at Jason Johannesson, 2016, as the smallest type of defender.
All right, mate. I think you've got this one.
There you go.
I think I like your argument. A full ground defence, but there hasn't been a Norm Smith medal winner that's played full forward for a long, long time.
No.
Who was probably the last one was Gary Ablett.
Would have been Gary Ablett back in the 89 grand final.
When he kicked all those goals against Hawthorn and still lost.
Yeah, well, that shows you.
Yeah. You've won this argument.
Yeah, overrated forwards.
Well done. I remember a particular instance out on the MCG. You were you're a big boy now. You're 6'3", 6'4".
6'4".
6'4".
Big boned.
But you were very big boned back then, festively plump. I've gone for a mark, and you kind of added a little bit extra sauce and landed on top of me because you knew you were beaten in this marking contest, and I felt every kilogram. And I think I gave it to you. I swore at you real bad.
Yeah.
I said you were fat.
Yeah. I don't think it wasn't fat. It was plump.
Well, that's what you did when you stood up. And I laughed. I've never laughed so hard on the MCG. So well done with that comeback.
Yeah.
Now, do you have to be this athletic Adonis like Anthony Koutafidis, or can you be like you were, winning a Norm Smith medal as a chunky monkey?
Well, when we say chunky monkey, I was still athletically fit, but just carrying an extra couple of kilos because In winter, you just need that little coat just to keep
I wish
warm.
I had it right now, I tell
But
you.
you look at some of the past legends of the game. You look at a Tony Lockett. You look at a Jason Dunstall.
Yeah.
Gary Ablett was still a little bit... He moved a little bit more, but those two guys, they were bigger guys and probably two of the most best players that has ever played AFL
That works
football.
for a day gone by where you didn't have to move far. You know, Plugger was in the goal square. Did he do much more than that? They sent a pig out onto the ground. How good was that? But nowadays, you need to be. You need to be able to run all day long.
Yeah.
Do you know who'd have been a good footballer now? Robbie Flower. He had not an inch of fat on him. Superstar, one of the greatest Melbourne players of all time.
I think that's what's happening with too much AFL now. Is you've got these young kids coming in and it's too much for a running game. Sometimes you look. I know Paddy Cripps is still pretty good shape, but he's 6'4", built. You need a little bit of extra weight because you come up against some lighter guys. If you're carrying an extra few kilos, you get that hands off. You can be a dominant player in this day and age.
There's an argument for another day. The old football, which was positional, when you're pushing and blocking, people love that. Do they love football now where it's ping, 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 running all over the place? I see your argument. I see where you're going with it. But I'm telling you right now, modern day football, they're not even looking at chunky monkeys like you were. They're looking at young kids that are really tall early and really thin early. Change my mind.
I would be permanently in the fat group if I was still playing football, unfortunately.
What did you feel when they were coming at you with the calipers back in the day?
I was like the cricketer. I was raising the bats.
After how many spots?
100.
6 spots. 100. You'll be able to.
180. I never got that high. Never got that high.
But hang on a second. You have won yourself a Norm Smith medal, being one of those guys that not necessarily the thinnest in the team. So there's an argument to say that you can be challenged.
Yeah, probably for one game.
But I reckon that was the end of an era. You were the last. You were the last bastion of it. You were the last one that said you can be fat and still play. All right. Plump. Just like I said out on the field that day with a few expletives. And now they're saying, no, you got to run all day long.
No, I reckon you've got that one.
I reckon
I reckon you got one.
Argument 2, Robbo. All right, we're 1-1 leading into the last. I was driving here thinking, well, what is the difference between you and I? I played for one club, you played for two.
Yes,
you went elsewhere for opportunities, and by geez did those opportunities come, but I stayed at one club. Now, here's the argument. Is it better to find other opportunities at other clubs, or is it better to stay at the club that you originally got drafted to?
You definitely did stay at one club. You probably stayed 2 years too long, to be honest with you, too. You really ripped off Melbourne those last couple of years. That was a superannuation, wasn't it?
I knew we were going to win, but they get some money.
Mate, you look at this day and age now, we've got 18 teams. You never know what's going to happen in the future. It could be 19, 20 sides. There's more opportunity. And loyalty goes both ways. Back in the day, the clubs would look after you, but this day and age, as soon as you hit 30, clubs are like, you know what, we'll pay you this amount of money. So how can you relate it to? You can probably like marriage, really. Let's look at marriage.
Here we go.
Okay.
Dr. Phil.
You get married and you think that's going to be your wife for the rest of your life, but unfortunately some things might change. She might not be happy with it. And you know what?
I love it.
There's plenty more fish in the sea.
So you're saying their grass might be greener on the other side in marriage as well.
Well, that's it.
Look at it.
Sometimes loyalty goes both ways. If she doesn't live up to her end of the bargain, you might have to.
You're a modern day man. Move on. You really are.
It's saying that I haven't been divorced. I've got one wife. I love you, Shannon.
But hey, the grass might.
Exactly right. There might be more opportunities.
Well, here's my argument, and it's an old sentiment. I know this, but you look over in America and see all those clubs, and they're just jumping around to super teams all the time. I don't like the look. I don't think anyone really does. I know sometimes the opportunities for you. You won a premiership, and that's great. But I've had opportunities with my club that I've stayed with to work there afterwards, and with the supporters, they recognise it as a one club player, and they love me for it. So. Does that equate to dollars? No, not necessarily, but the feeling I get, I'm going for the emotion, mate. I'm an emotional man.
So you tell me, when you go back to Melbourne now, you surely be getting not paid for it because of the last 2 years that you just took them to the cleaners. You feel like it's a charity sort of thing now, going back and actually giving your time up because those 2 years that you finished up with.
I'll sign an autograph for free every now and then.
But yeah, I can understand you.
Hey, coffees are expensive.
Well, you said you drove here. The petrol cross, my God, help me.
Hey, AFL players nowadays change clubs for more money because petrol's expensive.
Yeah, the cost of living at the moment is just going through
It's
the roof.
ridiculous. Absolutely. Now, look, the argument is probably a weak one for me because I'm sitting with a guy that played for the Western Bulldogs for a long time.
Yeah.
You go to Hawthorn and you win a Premiership. Straight away.
Three.
You get three.
Come on, get it right, mate. Come on.
Do I even have a chance at this argument? Why did I choose this argument?
Well, that's... You're a glutton for punishment, you are.
Do you not see my point though? A little bit though.
Yeah,
Just a little bit of honour.
Yeah, but like as we said about the thicker players compared to the skinnier players, times have changed. And yes, it's great to be a one club player, but unfortunately, it's a business now.
Yeah,
You've got to move on.
Brian Lake stays in his marriage, but he leaves his footy club. That's a good way to do it. But you're saying sometimes the grass is greener out there. So if you're in a marriage.
Yeah, so my
and you want to leave, go for it.
So you're saying my values are mixed up a little bit. You're probably right there, the loyalty side of it. But it's a good choice.
Depends on the opportunity. Depends on what's on the other side.
Yes, exactly right.
Well, I think you've won that argument because the proof's in the pudding. You got a Norm Smith medal and 3 premierships where otherwise you probably wouldn't have had them.
Exactly right, mate. Thank you.
Win. That's 2-1.
That is awesome, mate. Thank you very much, mate.
Brian Lake, what a beautiful holiday spot.
You're paying for these coffees, eh?